Hey everybody, Jared with Secondlifedesign. Welcome back to Milling Monday. So last week I talked about the remote milling checklist and things you should always have with you and you should always bring, and somebody asked about a first aid kit and what things they should have in that, and it kind of got me thinking about overall milling safety and things to consider with that. So I think we're going to get into that tonight and kind of share my thoughts and concerns and things you may not think about. So obviously, if you're doing milling, you're using a chainsaw, it's going to have an extended bar on it. People are worried about that. They get the horror movie, chainsaw massacre thing going and how dangerous it is and whatever. And by and large, I find it to be a pretty safe practice. We do things to mitigate risk, to minimize things. Obviously you keep your hands away from the bar and do all of that. And, I've found that using the Alaskan winch is a lot safer where you're not pushing as much. If you're pushing, your hand can slip, your hands go forward. That could obviously be bad, if that's not controlled. So, you're using the Alaskan winch as one way to mitigate risk and make that a little bit simpler. My girlfriend, the first time I told her about chainsaw milling, she had the idea of the chain breaking and coming loose and whipping around and doing some god-awful thing, and the reality is that's not what's going to happen. I've had the chain pop off before where it got really loose, it popped off the drive gear, and it stopped instantly. The chain was not moving any longer. I'm not going to say that something couldn't happen where if it were to break, it would continue on, but there is so much resistance in what it's doing. If you're milling a piece that's 30 inches wide, a log that's that wide, there is 30 inches of wood trying to stop that chain dead in its tracks. So, should there be some catastrophic thing where the chain snaps, there's so much resistance and so many things in the way that I think that it's going to be such a minimal risk that it's something I don't even consider at this point. It's just something I wouldn't even consider. There's obviously things that could happen. I'm not going to say nothing will never happen, nothing bad will ever happen, but the chain breaking and whirly-gigging around and doing all that, something it's not something I worry about. The things I do consider that I would stress to people to keep in their mind is eye and ear protection. I've mentioned in other videos, I was a heavy equipment mechanic for a long time. My hearing is on its way out, is the best way to put it. I have tinnitus at this point, but I can still hear fine, but I just have the ringing. It comes and goes. I'm kind of used to it. It's not even from chainsaw milling, it's from other things before, so it's, you wear hearing protection as much as you can. I use the in-ear, I have ear plugs that go in, and I'll put the cans over, with the headgear on them. Do as much as you can to protect your ears. It's not even the volume most of the time, to me it's the frequency, and by the pitch of the sound that can be more damaging. Like my planer right back here, the pitch of that, for whatever reason, if I'm not wearing earplugs, it is almost painful in that frequency. And with chainsawing, it's the same way. That constant loud volume at a certain pitch can be very, very damaging to your ears. So please, please, please wear hearing protection. You don't want tinnitus. You don't want hearing loss. Get hearing protection. Spend some money on some good stuff. And it's not worth the risk. So it may seem like, I'm only running my chainsaw for 5 minutes. It won't matter. That's 5 minutes. It won't matter. Put those earplugs in. That's not going to... That will not take you 5 minutes, and you will not regret that later. The second thing with that is the eye protection. Most of the headgear, the overhead with the visor that flips down, it's like the mesh. It works okay for regular chainsawing where it's the big chunks and the curls and stuff coming out. When we're milling, we produce a really fine sawdust, and in an ideal situation, it's blowing away from you. It's blowing, the exhaust of the saw is blowing it away, whatever. I had an experience recently where a wind gust came back and it blew all that sawdust right in my face. I had my visor on and safety glasses. It still managed to just pack my eyes full of sawdust, and I had red eyes and problems for 3 days after. Please consider that. Take that into account. I'm going to try out my full face respirator mask with some overhead earmuffs and see how that works. Just so I give air filtration, full visor, eye protection, and see how that does. It's something that you want to do this for a long time. Breathing in that stuff get it into your eyes and into your sinus cavities, and it's just all bad. So, the chainsaw stuff is, and people can worry about the chain as much as they want, but the secondary things you don't think about is that running a chainsaw for that long of a time, that volume, the amount of dust that's being produced, those can be just as detrimental, but they're doing it in a slower way where they're going to damage you longer term. So, when we talk about chainsaw safety, that's one, but the eye and ear protection, that is what should be just as considered. So, we're getting away from the first aid kit part. Cuts and bruises and things you want to take care of. Maybe have some eye wash in case you get some sawdust in your eyes. But yeah, those are the two things I think of when I think of chainsaw safety in regards to milling. Long-term effects, it can be detrimental. So that's what I got for tonight, guys. Appreciate all the comments and good questions. We're getting to some good topics that are related to milling that I think people don't always consider, and that's why I want to share these. So I really appreciate all the feedback and ideas. Any other questions or comments, you can leave them below. You can always find me on Instagram at Secondlifedesign, and thank you.